good to go. Great. Okay. Well, I'm actually going to start with a small story. So, to set the scene, a small life example from a client. Before they became my client, and obviously I've changed the names to protect the innocent, John was shocked to lose his largest customer of 15 years, a customer that contributed 40% of his revenue. Now, John wasn't surprised that the customer contributed 40%. He always knew that, and he always knew that if they left him, it would be a problem. He knew he should have done some proactive sales efforts to minimize the risk. He just never got around to it. He just hoped one day it would never happen. Unfortunately, hope isn't a very good strategy, and today did arrive for John. Today's topic may not have prevented John from losing his customer, but it will have prepared him better and reduce the impact and help him. Hopefully, it can help you do the same. In fact, will not only help you save your business, it will help your business prosper. So I'm Russell Towsey, RVT Consulting. I specialize in fractional sales leadership and sales consultancy. I serve business owners to overcome growth problems by being a partner to execute sales. I do this supported by Sales Acceleration. Sales Acceleration are a US-based fractional national sales leadership organization. So I partner with them, and I use their certified sales operating management system. They've been running now for 15 years. They've generated over 2.7 billion US dollars revenue growth by refining and updating their certified sales operating management system. This has helped SMEs, thousands of business owners, overcome sales challenges, and we've learned that success comes down to mastering 10 key drivers. I will now share these 10 key drivers with you in the next 20 minutes, and then depending on how quick I go, you'll have time at the end for questions. So let's get into them. I think we actually did share the top 10 list, hopefully in the pre-information that was sent out. But this is what companies should be doing to strengthen their sales performance. So I'll walk you through the top 10, and it really separates top performers from the rest. So here's the list, and again, I can share all of this material with you afterwards, no problem at all. So number 10, have a defined sales strategy. While we refer to this as sales strategy, I know implementers who refer to this as marketing strategy. To clarify and encompass, both encompass ICP, value propositions, buyer personas, etc. If you think about your top 20 best customers, how would you describe them? Many people will start with revenue, but how about margins and profits? How will that impact the list? Demographic, geographical details like size of company, industry they're in, locations. Psychographic details. How do you prefer they interact with you? Do they provide any additional referral introductions? Do they pay on time? Are there additional cross-selling opportunities or leverage into other companies as a result? What do you not want? Who specifically are you selling to within the organization? Normally, not just one person, it can be 5 or more involved is pretty common these days. What roles do they hold? What do they care about? What is their typical day like? Characteristics, risk averse, or seeking cutting edge. This plays into what may emphasize in your stories, new product or proven history. I did this recently with a client who just had customers. He said to me, we've got 186 customers. At the start of any engagement, I get 5 years data normally. He sent me 5 years data. We looked at his customers. He had about 43 really regular buying customers. Then I started to segment them, categorize them, build out ICPs. He was blown away. He'd never looked at his customer base like this, and his team hadn't either. So we're able to really focus on why these people stick with him and why maybe others, either he chose to leave or they chose to leave him. Knowing what really separates you from others, not just table stake items, what really separates you from the others in your space. What is that combination of attributes that makes you better, make you different, make you stand out? This becomes parts of your battle cards for your sales team. So that's number 10, have a defined sales strategy. Number 9, clearly defined sales goals and KPIs. Many businesses don't have clearly defined sales goals, but even if many do, they don't have clearly defined metrics on how to achieve these goals. This is incredibly common, I've found now. many times when I speak to business owners and I say, how do you budget? How do you set targets? They tend to say, we want to do better than last year. It would be like deciding to run a marathon, knowing it's 26.2 miles, and then haphazardly running mileage months in the hope that you could get to the race day and be ready. I don't know about you, but that isn't an approach I would like to take. I've done some running. I've not done a marathon. I've done half marathons, but you have to, reach those goals. So what happens every day? You get your sales reps their goal. How many meetings? How many proposals? How many of those do you need to win, etc. You need to establish for your team what good versus bad looks like. It isn't fair that you have an opinion of what it is, but you haven't shared it. So again, very common that there's an expectation from the sales leader, but that's not been conveyed and discussed with the sales team. So you need to figure out what will make you successful before it's too late. Determine you've been crossing the finishing line of the marathon tired but healthy, not hurt and disappointed at 12-mile mark because you didn't train properly, even though you had the time to do so. So planning, preparation, execution. Number 9, clearly define sales goals and KPIs. Number 8, having weekly sales meetings and one-to-ones. Sales meetings should include both your entire team together as a group and individual one-to-one meetings. Your group should meet 30 to 60 minutes, typical for a sales meeting. Doesn't have to be, 3-4 hours. It doesn't have to be over 2 days necessarily. Very focused, very structured. It should, specifically in the sales meeting when you've got the group together, pertain to the entire group. One-to-one meetings should not be about compliance. They should be about coaching and helping your salespeople drive more revenue. I've just recently introduced this with a client. They didn't have any structure. We've switched them now to a one-to-one every Friday. So after this, I've got 30-minute calls, and suddenly we talk pipeline, we talk about the future, we talk about revenue generation, and we talk about challenges, issues they may have, and we address those, and I'm there to try and help them solve it. So keep the same general cadence each week so that they can come prepared. They know what to expect. That's the key thing. Don't spring surprises on them. Make sure that it's very structured, repetitive, and you build a pulse and a heartbeat. Review their CRM first so that you are prepared as well. As leaders, we know to get out in the field with reps and see and hear things firsthand. So quite often, sales leaders don't venture. They might venture with only a couple of the larger accounts. It is good practice to at least have regular interactions with your sales teams, go out, see how they perform. You learn a lot more about them, how they behave, and also you might get insights from the client that maybe they don't pick up. So really, really good to have ride-ons, as they're called. Get out there. Seeing your team in action and meeting and communicating with them on a regular basis provides a way for higher accountability. So that's number 8, having weekly sales and one-to-one meetings. Create a defined sales process. So you need to determine and document each step in your sales process, and better yet, the customer's buying process. Use that information to customize your CRM. There will be a question about, do you have a CRM? We'll come to that shortly. With a buyer's process and a sales process documented, everyone in your company can now use the same terminology, enabling them to be more efficient with their communication. It also helps people understand where they are in the process, how they contribute. So a sales process and a customer buying process should involve all your company, because everyone is part of those processes, part of the overall customer engagement. So it's very, very important that you tie specific action steps to each step, meaning what needs to be accomplished at each step in the process before it can move to the next step. So quite often people jump through the process and they miss key parts that they need to check, validate, maybe credit limits, it might be availability, it might be some sort of geographical location restriction. All of those things is best that you check, and best as a team that you do that together for the very, very really important opportunities that you have. So number 7 is create a defined sales process. Number 6, conduct sales training. So sales training, I recently was doing some sales training with a client. One of the people there, she'd been in sales for 26 years. She'd never had any sales training. I couldn't believe it. She was my best student, I must say. She was very receptive and just liked to be involved. So customized training, including, prospecting. Prospecting is so important. Training on how to prospect, but also how to put prospecting into your calendar to allow dedicated time for prospecting, something that many people don't do. Productivity, discovery, selling, presentation, negotiation, and closing skills. I've got a lead at the moment, and they said we get lots of leads in, but we just don't get over the line. So we're talking about a negotiation training, something like that. So spend time in the field with the reps to determine what type of training they need. Don't assume the entire team needs exactly the same. That's rarely the case. So provide individualized training or small group training if that would suit the team's needs better. Role play to test competency, not to find that they don't know the material, but to determine where additional training is needed. So role play is really, really good. I would strongly recommend it. It's the best place to fail, to be exposed, to succeed, to shine is with your own colleagues. So really, really recommend that. So number 6, conduct sales training. Leverage sales technology. So use a CRM. Find the right tool and centralize recording and tracking of sales activity. API from other tools into one is key. So, it's key that you have a CRM, you understand its purpose, and then you leverage technology to plug in your other systems so that sales can focus on the one system and not have to have multiple logins. In my previous life, an average salesperson had 8 systems to log into. When I left that business, we were down to 2. One was the HR system and one was the CRM. So it can be done. As discussed before, CRMs are vital to record key information in order to ensure a CRM is being used effectively by your sales team and others in the company. Customize the CRM with your company's unique terms, structure, and terminology. Without doing so, it gives your team an excuse not to use a CRM because it doesn't conform to the way we do things here. I hear that a lot, and if you don't include them and you don't select the right tool for your business, it's just an excuse that they won't use it, or they'll just fill it with, it'll just be a giant repository, which is a complete waste of money. All information should be kept in the CRM: call records, proposals, contracts, estimates, etc. It's in one place where everyone can go and get the information about an opportunity, a closed deal, company information, historical information. Everyone sees the same information. So transparency is key. What other tools can help with the sales team position for success? Use AI in many phases of the process: content creation, competitive analysis to predict insights. Note-taking apps are very good. I always use one. I use one called Fireflies, but I have that as assigned to normally my Zoom meetings. Gary might have kicked it out today, to my Teams meetings, all virtual meetings. I also have the app, so if I'm in person with a client meeting, I'll just say, do you mind? It records, it summarizes, and it shares with the people that are involved in that meeting. So strongly recommend that. Also now with AI and other tools, you can produce videos, marketing, sales enablement for your team. There's a lot of expectation now with sales that they're present, visible, LinkedIn, that they're posting, they're liking, all those kind of things. So additional expectations from the sales force, which might not be core revenue generating items in their minds, but really exposes the company to others and really reaches a larger audience. So strongly recommend that. So number 5, leveraging sales technology. Number 4, build a sales playbook. So every company should have a sales playbook. Every member of the company should have seen it, read it, and have access to it. Especially useful when you onboard new people into an organization. Typically, when I take an engagement, I will ask for the onboarding process. I will ask for their playbook. If they don't have them, I will ask, how did you onboard the salesperson? What information did you give them, etc. Predominantly, it's history of the company. It's your laptop, your phone, your keys for your car, and the sort of health and safety rules. Nothing about what they're here to do, how do they fit in with everybody. A playbook gives you consistency, sales efficiency, will help with higher close rates, it will enhance training, and try and avoid this is the way I do it. versus how we as a company sell and position ourselves in the marketplace. So the playbook is really the internal Bible. It's the go-to oracle, and it should be updated at least once a year. You can reflect marketing strategy, ICPs. You can look at sales data. You can build outreach specifically based on those, objection handling, many different things. So incredibly useful. Now I do digital versions with some AI enhancements as well. So number 4, build a sales playbook. Number 3, right people, right seats, the people component. So there are a lot of ways to win a game. So how a team is structured depends on what the teams need to accomplish, their budget, etc. Proper analysis is needed to determine the right fit for every organization. Example from my past, I inherited a team. They were all sales managers. So when I looked at the job descriptions, looked at the team, they all had exactly the same. When we started to look at their markets, their customers, we realized that there was one person that was tasked with opening new accounts in a new market, but this person clearly had a profile of a farmer. So I did some assessments. What do they like? What do they comfortable with, etc. Use the disc, use other things. This person was clearly a relationship builder, very good at growing business organically, but was very uncomfortable in knocking on doors and getting things over the line. So clearly difference there. Then I had somebody else that was looking after large accounts and basically said to me, I'm leaving because I'm bored. This person wanted to do the other, wanted to go knocking on doors, wanted to be targeted, wanted to earn money by bringing in deals. So be very careful that you look at your team all the same. Make sure you've got the right people in the right seat doing the right job. So position your sales team to leverage knowledge and expertise. What are the key pain points and issues to solve for the industry? Align personal traits to account execs versus account managers. We don't just have the salespeople to do all the same sales things. So that's number 3, right people, right seats, the people component. Number 2, build compensation plans that incent the right behavior. I mean, this is a classic. Typically, when I get an engagement, the salespeople don't have very good bonus structures. It's normally either company shared percentages or it's a low ratio. For a good salesperson in the software SaaS sort of market, you look 50-50 with an OTE where they can really accelerate. In a lot of manufacturing, etc., you'd probably be 75-25. But again, don't cap your salespeople on what they can earn, because the best ones will bring in the business, that will bring in revenue, and that is what it's all about. Bringing more money into the business, they get a share of that. So construct a plan, make sure you build it for the salesperson and the company to win together and to lose together. So don't build a plan that doesn't have both sides in harmony, because management will want sales team to do something other than what the sales team wants to do. So be very mindful of that. A well-designed compensation plan will also help you acquire a better person than you deserve. Here is what I mean by that. A good salesperson looks at a plan, at minimum, looks at what they can make 100% of goal attainment. But more likely, they're looking at the 120, 140 and beyond. So again, certain things you can ask with people. I had one guy from my old team. He applied for a more senior position. I said, is this really what you want to have people? And he said, no, I just want to earn more money. So we just changed his compensation plan. This guy was a machine. This guy operated unlike anybody else, but he brought in business and, he got rewarded for it. And you need those people. So number 2, build compensation plans that incite the right behavior. Number 1, proper sales management. So your leader may need to take on varying roles. So builder and implementer of a strategy or structure, conclude hiring, designing of the team, have sort of board experience, etc. Then they have to manage the team on board. Their accountability for managing and coaching. They've got a seat at the exec table. So the bandwidth to take the company to the necessary level. So again, be mindful of the player coach. So many SMEs have the player coach, and that's understandable because of the size of the organization. But as a business grows, and the sales organization, the sales function, customer service grows, you have to beware that you don't end up with a player coach that's doing more playing than coaching. So I'm coaching a lady at the moment, a Polish lady, and she's going through that transition. It's a 9-month transition for her, and we have to systematically align the two job descriptions and do the handovers. So, really a sales leadership role is pivotal for any business because they need the bandwidth to be able to make people accountable, look at the ability of the team, keep on top, be there, and help with those large deals. Make sure that they are part of that key team that are dealing with those clients and making sure those deals get over the line. So very, very mindful of that and proper sales management, which is what I do now as a fractional. So this again is a role that I do where you don't need a full-time VP sales, but you need that experience. You need to get the team to a certain level and the business to a certain level, and that would then mean that you need that type of position, which is normally for me a 12-month assignment. Then I help them build a job description, bring on the replacement, hand over the baton, stay there, maybe coach that new person, and then back away. So don't underestimate that role and also what's needed in that particular role. So the bottom line, whether you're just getting started or ready to optimize what's working, focusing on these 10 areas can have a measurable impact on growth. So that's me, Gary. If there are questions, I think we've now got a bit of time. Oh, we're doing well for time. Bit of time for questions. And also, before the questions come in, please do connect. You can scan the QR code. You can email me. You can find me on LinkedIn. If any of you do want the 2025 State of Sales Small to Mid-sized Businesses, it's a PDF. You can get that from me as well. You can also get it via Sales Acceleration website. But please do connect. If you have any questions, I do offer a 45-minute free consultation, and I also have a 10-question sales agility assessment that really covers the top 10 drivers and will ask you certain questions about your business. No obligation there. You get a nice little report on email, and it gives you some tips and tricks that you can try yourself. All of this you can do yourself, but if you do need some advice or some support, or you want someone to execute for you and be your partner, please do give me a shout. Gary.
Thanks very much, Russell. Do you want to stop sharing your screen and then we can
Yep.
see everyone? Has anyone got any questions for Russell? Oh, yeah, Julian's got one.
Yeah, hi there.
Hi.
Hi there. Thanks very much, Russell. I'm a bit early for all of this, but I think there are a lot of interesting take-homes in what you're saying, which actually probably extend a little bit more out from sales. But what you're highlighting is absolutely crucial for survival of a business in revenue. My question is really about the relationship between your sales team and the company as a whole. If you're a relatively small company,
Yep.
that I think it was sort of point 2 or 3, getting that balance of compensation for the sales team. How do you approach fair compensation for the organization versus individuals? So every individual is sort of putting their effort in, but there are going to be differences between different people. And how do you make that sort of equitable and that everybody's on board in an organization is the question.
Okay. I mean, so a client that I got in October, 3 salespeople, their overall package was similar, but what they were, one in England, one in Wales, one in Scotland, so there were some slight differences. But they both, well, they all 3 of them had a compensation plan that was pretty much they could earn 10% commission. They're a software company, 10% commission, but it was maxed out at 10%. So their overall basics were similar, maximum 10%. So when you actually looked at what that company was trying to achieve in the market, one was getting more traction than other, and this guy was continuously hitting 10%. So the others were ranging between 2 and 3%. So when we actually started to assess these people, talk to these people, it was clear that they had no guidance. So they had no clear targets. So what we've done, because they're a revenue-based business, software business, I've changed the compensation model for them so that it's now based on both repeat revenue and new revenue. So we've got two streams, and we've not capped. So they get a percentage now of the overall value, because what we found is that they were paying no attention to the existing customers when they were coming up for renewal. So we've now added that as a target so that they follow that up. And what it means is that their overall potential has now jumped from this max 10% to potentially 30%. But this is a win-win for the business, because the biggest growth area is the new onboards and the new offerings that they have. So all three of them now, so they've got a fairness, Julian. So the base,
Yes.
they don't know each other's base, but they all know that they have the same model. We share that, and we share openly how each person's doing. They don't know the base, so they don't know the finite number that they get given, but it creates a bit of competition, because out of the three of them, we look at the revenue that they're generating, and then it shows which percentage model they will get. But again, they don't know the base, they don't know the overall. So we've created a sort of bit of a competitive atmosphere. We've made very, very clear targets. We share that weekly. So when we do the pipeline reviews, we share it weekly, and they all can earn more money. So I don't know if it answers your question directly, but it's fairness, it's transparency to a degree, and it's created an atmosphere that generates. And then we looked at the internal teams, and they've changed their model slightly as well, because they're key for the repeat business. So rather than just if the business does well, it's very much more driven now about the revenues and the repeats and the numbers, and there's more transparency there as well.
Thanks very much.
Cheers, Julian. I've got a question, and then maybe we'll come to others. Though you might have answered a bit of it in what you were just talking about then. What I'm starting to see as companies get bigger is then obviously the way the world's going now is people are not employed so long. So their vision of what the company is and the growth is obviously shorter. So I wonder within sales, is there a way to make that longer so that a salesperson would get X amount for the X amount of years, even if they've left, if that makes sense?
Even if they've left.
Yeah, because if they're brought in that client, what I'm
Yeah,
saying is people look at short-term
yeah,
gain now more than long-term,
yeah,
and it shouldn't matter. So what you'd probably want your sales team to do is actually get these clients lasting longer,
yeah.
past even the time that they're there. So
Mm.
I know generally in sales, most people take all their clients with them once they're gone. So actually, that's quite a good one, because it would obviously stop them from doing that as well.
Yeah,
So I've solved
yeah.
two
I mean,
problems.
first and foremost, the really good salespeople that go and get the business, they want the money there and then. So they want that. To tie them in, you need to offer them some LTE, so some sort of long term LTI, sorry, some sort of long term incentive, share offering, something like that. So the good salespeople, as long as they keep getting that win, Gary, and keep getting that, I've got two of my best mates are in software, cloud-based stuff, and all they work on is the number for the quarter. They are now at a senior position. They've seen as part of the business. They've been offered shares. They've been offered, equity in the business. So I think if you really want to keep them, and they're hitting the number, then some sort of equity share is how you keep them. But fundamentally, the good ones, it's about targeting them quarter by quarter, and that they get something that they can achieve and get money in the pocket. So if they go, Gary, then it's normally because the targets are wrong, or something's changed with, the dynamic, things like that. So my two mates are pretty loyal, but always are looking outside for something else. But they stay where they are because they keep getting the number. But when there's a bit of noise, changing CEO, different things like that, then that causes a bit of friction. But yeah, fundamentally they'll stay.
Yeah.
Stuart, I can see your hand.
Morning, Russell. Thanks for that. I mean, that's full of some really great stuff. My question is, I'm probably not the only person on this call who doesn't have a team of salespeople. I can't pit my salespeople against each other because like we haven't got those people. So this year we we expanded last year from 2 to 5.
Yeah.
And this year the expansion is likely to be all around marketing and sales. That is absolutely what we need. We need a proper marketing manager and a proper sales team. I wonder is there any sort of global advice you've got around, given what you said today, how to apply that at the beginning to a much smaller team? Some of what you said is directly transferable from a size of 10. I'd love to have a morning full of calls with my individual salespeople, and maybe that'll happen this year. But of course, at the moment, sort of things like incentivizing. I realize putting people in competition with each other is a really good way of keeping people sharp. We won't be able to do that. So as we go in right at the beginning of putting our sales force together and our marketing force, because at the moment we're kind of doing that ourselves. We've got one marketing person. Any sort of pointers, advice you've got on that early stage in getting it right at the beginning to create the right sort of sales and marketing culture within a firm that hasn't yet got a sales and marketing team?
Yeah, I think any business that tips over the 500,000 revenue should start to think about their organizational setup. Have you heard of EOS, Entrepreneurial Operating System?
No.
Okay, if you've not heard of EOS, I recommend that you read this book, Traction. Within there, as always highlighted, there's an organizational chart. It has the CEO, so yourself, Stuart, is normally called the visionary, so the person that started the business.
Who's the author of that book? I'll look that up in a sec.
Traction.
By?
Gene Wickman.
Gene Wickman, great.
Because in there on page 97, it has an organizational chart, and you have the CEO, the visionary, then you have normally your MD or something like that, who is the integrator, and then you have 3 core functions: sales and marketing, finance, ops. If you can look at your business in that sort of structure, then you can scale your business, and that's the whole point about this operating system, because it takes you from this 500,000 and you can run it right up to 50 million comfortably. But it's that organizational structure, accountability. It's called the accountability chart. But within that, Stuart, you'd have this sales and marketing seat, and that person in that seat takes responsibility for that sales and marketing and the associated tasks, team, things like that as you grow. If you're not there yet, the good thing about this and that particular slide or that particular page is it gives you 5 core jobs. And what you tend to find as businesses grow is that maybe 2 or 3 people have the same job, but it's not their primary job. So it really you start to clean out who's doing what. And as that organization starts to settle and this is the right people in the right seat, you then can scale. You can start to predict when you will need additional resources. Does somebody have too much? If you're doing, as a CEO, you are doing some sales because you needed to as the owner, the visionary, but it's very detailed what you do. You are the mover and shaker with CEOs of other target companies, things like that, maybe certain trade events, certain organizations. Your sales and marketing director will have other tasks, but you work together. So it's building an organization, Stuart, that can help you scale, help you grow, and has really accountability. And I think if you can work on that accountability part, then looking at who's touching sales and then saying, is that right? Should all of these people do it? Should certain people do it? You go through that, and then you can decide whether you have the right people in the right seat, and then should that person really be touching sales? Do we all touch sales? I mean, some people might say, I do some sales, but you might say, actually, you don't. You do some of this, but so again, defining your sales process, looking where everyone fits in, looking at your accountability chart, Stuart, I think is a very good way to say, I don't know what trajectory you're on. Hopefully, you're on a growth trajectory. This is the perfect model to help you grow. But please do take a look at that book. It's
I will do. Yeah, oh, great. I've made a note. I'll order that after this call. Thanks. It's great.
Good. I think there's 7 in the whole Gene Wickman life thing, but start with that one first. That tells you what it's all about. Get a Grip is another one that actually runs you through an example of how a company tried it, finished with it. So there's 7 books in the series looking at different aspects.
Okay, that's my weekend sorted then. Thanks. It's great.
Thanks, Russell. Has anyone got any more questions before we finally wrap up? No, I don't think so.
Great.
Russell, just like to say thank you very much. As usual, we'll try and put as much feedback out on social and LinkedIn, etc. And we'll put some of the stuff that you've shared on our WhatsApp group for our other members. And obviously, this is recorded so other people can watch it as well. Yeah.
Perfect. Great stuff.
Okay. Thank you very much. Have a good weekend, everyone.
Yeah. Have a good
Thanks,
weekend.
Russell.
Cheers.
Cheers. Thank you. Bye.